land of the free, home of the motherfucking brave. That's a full cat.
For me, because we don't have something in place to deal with these traders, they walk around us, man, with impunity. And until we fix that.
Well, think about it. Let me ask you the question. In a system such as this, white supremacy, could there ever be a punishment mechanism implemented by Black Americans?
Well, we have to.
Because now we're looking at a situation where we gotta, ultimately, it's like balls to the wall on everybody now.
But why don't you tell me a little about your business and why did you decide, first and foremost, Lone Wolf? Why?
So, again, my name is Juan Johnson. I'm the founder, owner of Lone Wolf Farm Training. It came about because I saw the need to train our people how to defend themselves. I think that, Lone Wolf symbolizes basically that we're all looking for somebody to do something when actually we need to do it ourselves.
And for me, it's about reintroducing to the collective the Second Amendment. Reintroduce you to the farms, the very thing this country was built on. The great equalizer. Okay. Yeah, so it's a reintroduction because again, we have a generation before us who was silent. And they call it the silent generation for real. You had the baby boomers. But they sat on the sideline.
The bootlick
boomers. They sat there, okay, giving us advice out of fear.
That's the position.
Okay. So I take a different perspective. I say, you know what? They need to be reintroduced to the guns. They have to be reintroduced to personal safety.
You gotta ask yourself, what is it all about? All right? Rolling the niggas up out the paint, or capitalizing, or either rolling in the pan or the pots of Pan-Africanism.
Blood I bleed with folks who don't know me, but they recognize my short form, the dead black boy emoji. His hair's too curly, his nose too wide.
You know, you can tell when a plant is sick. You can tell, like over there, I know those need attention. My son just came out when we were, and he gave them attention. So you have to watch them like your children.
Give me your hashtags and memes. Throw your hearts at me like bombs. I wanna feel you screenshot your screens. All black phone funeral.
So you got basil, you got oregano, you got what else?
Rosemary, some parsley, and I basically just grow what I like. It's not anything special. It's just basically I grow what I like to eat.
But you know what, Sister Sean, but you got some beautiful herbs down there.
You want to take a look?
All right.
Let me show you. These are newly planted, everything. So this is me, and I like to show you my versatility. This is literally me planting on my basement steps. So this area I consider more of my herb area. And this is where you'll see, this is my rosemary, this is the Italian oregano, this is basil, here's the sage that you were talking about. I look at just the growth, and I just try to take from the top. I keep everything from the top. I'm not dealing with down here, because these are your main stalks. These things can continue to grow. So that's why you don't want to kind of get down in there like that, because you're just cutting the life off of it. So you just always want to snip from the top. So would you like me to snip some of this for today's?
See that you got a lot of other plants up here.
Well, first of all, how do you like the way that smells? How do you like?
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Okay. I know it smells.
No, this is it. You know, I hear a lot of different things, and I wanted to get the true essence of what Black DC looks like through the eyes of Black American sisters. So the only way that I feel to get that done is if that you showed me. So tell me about the tour, sister.
So, thank you for coming out. Yes, I think that this is a good idea. More people should come to the Black inside DC and learn why it's really called Chocolate City. In 1862, Lincoln, we were in the middle of, well, not the middle, the Civil War was going on. So he established the Bureau of Colored Troops, where he had us. We joined the army so that we could fight against in the Civil War. And so people, they don't tell the part that we weren't winning until the establishment of the colored troops. And yeah, we fought for our own freedom. Like we emancipated ourselves because the North was losing until they got the colored troops. So Black American owned base. Black American owned base, and it's still open. The business loans and everything came through industrial bank. So this bank, this is the original one right here on U Street. It is open right now. It is still open. It has 9 locations, and they have one in New Jersey. I don't know where in New Jersey, but they have one in New Jersey. So, but yeah, it is a black bank. I'm actually going, when I start making more money for my tours, I'm putting my money in here. In industrial bank. Yeah.
I'm gonna turn around. Everybody's confirming. We didn't want to be integrated like that. We wanted them to leave us the fuck alone.
Yeah. I think we did so much better when it was just us. And that's the thing that I always talk about when we get down here to show you this the other parts of the neighborhood. When you think about the Great Depression was from 1929 to 39. That is when like neighborhoods like this, and you think about Rosewood, you think about Wilmington, North Carolina, even Tulsa, Oklahoma. Think about the dates and time stamp of when those cities were thriving the most. The store is Black Broadway, and I didn't name it Black Broadway. So the people of this era called it Black Broadway because at the time, so we started around like literally right out of slavery up until like the 1960s, like when MLK was assassinated. So during that time, especially during Jim Crow, with this particular area, we were segregated. We had no choice but to, do business with each other and build our neighborhoods with each other, and we flourished so much so that they named the whole area Black Broadway.
Want to know what made Black Wall Street or Durham, North Carolina, or all these other black communities flourish is that you got a group of people together to talk out and work out and hash out what it is that the community needed that everyone benefited in. Right. It's the same way this whole reparations talk. It's being done by a few people. They haven't done a mass education campaign to even explain what reparative justice is. You know why? Let me tell you why. Some of the key Negroes who were doing this wanted to get most of the money for themselves and cheat the black masses.
Let's talk about $10 million for a fucking study, a task force. Right? Like,
you mean the ask force, because you know what they're going to do with it. You know what they're going to do. They're going to go to the hotels and probably even only hire white hoes.
Literally the first and only acupuncturist I've ever met in my life that looked like me.
That's right.
You understand? Now we tell them you got 2? What happened?
Yes.
What's going on here? So talk to me, Doc. Break it up, because I need to understand.
I want to thank you for asking that question, because we always thought that acupuncture originated in China. But we recently, as I always thought, once I became Africanized, I said everything came from Africa. I just got to figure out where this information is about acupuncture in Africa.
So let me ask you. You said the study had come from Africa. How do you feel about people who say that they're indigenous people here? That we all didn't come from Africa.
I say that the indigenous people that are here and that were here, if we study history and we study the beginnings of man and how all of that started in Africa and then they went out from there, that's my answer to that. You know, that everything started in Africa, and we know that. And people migrated to the other continents, so we know that there were black people in America.
That DNA doesn't know any other land other than here. So this is what I'm saying when I look at it, and I especially when I'm talking about acupuncture, I'm trying to trace the origins, you say it's from Africa. Who were the teachers of it?
I'm talking about Imhotep and all the heroes back in that day. I don't know their names.
Okay.
I know the papyrus papers has them.
Okay.
So I'm not arguing with the papyrus papers because I know that's the oldest papers known to man. And it's on there. So when it shows it to me, it just validated it for me.
When you talk about countertop medicine compared to acupuncture, right? Let's clearly separate or make the distinction, right? Acupuncture, when we talk about a headache, they tell you to take an aspirin. How does that look for an acupuncturist?
Use a drug. There's something that's going on with a person, we can either put some drugs in or we can cut it out. Those are only alternatives or only options that they have in Western medicine. My mother is a retired nurse. She passed on. So I grew up in a medical household where my mama had aspirin. She had a syringe that looked like a shotgun back in the 50s with a cartridge with penicillin and stuff in case we caught the flu. When we got sick though, she'd get the peppermint out, lemon, honey, make plastics, and so forth and so on.
We're looking at, I guess you guys could be considered the front line of defense for medical apartheid here in the United States.
To be 70 years old without any health issues, blood pressure issues, arthritic issues, hair loss, all of those things. You know what I'm saying? So it's about, But look, we got people 30 years old with no hair now. You see the youngest?
I know.
25, 30 years old, man.
Only 37.
Oh, yeah, no. You already know. When we were coming up, your hair got gone when you were 70. You had high blood pressure when you were 70. You had diabetes when you were 70. You had arthritis when you were 70. People got diabetes now, juvenile as children. High blood pressure. Young women getting cancer at 17, 13, 12 years old. Cervical breast cancer. All of these things have changed. So we have to change the diet because the diet, as Dr. Owen said yesterday on the Zoom, that the diet is contributing to the overwhelming regeneration of degenerative illnesses, but also the proliferation of those illnesses, as well as the creation of addendums, as I say, you got asthma, then you got COPD, you got they continue to add stuff in that process. So it's important for individuals at an early age, birth preferably, but at an early age to get educated about food, about nutrition, about sugar, and that sugar is is behind the majority of the illnesses that we're having. Because it contributes to cancer, it causes cancer, but people don't know because it tastes so good.
About it. What are we having tonight?
Well, I will say this. When you take the minimum and you make maximum results out of it, that's what we do. We use what we have. And what you had here today from your garden, right? Your garden has some beautiful sage, phenomenal rosemary there. We took some of that and we marinated the chicken a touch with it. We also put it in the potatoes, right, when we parboiled them. And then we redistributed it again when we roasted it with the paprika. So you got a paprika, sage and rosemary roasted potatoes. A whole bunch of people that look like me built that motherfucking house that's behind a real nigga, real black American nigga, okay? A whole bunch of motherfuckers that look like me built it for free.
They tried to pass a bill in it was 1801. Congress tried to vote for just the slavery to end in D.C. Like stop buying and selling slaves in D.C. It did not pass. They were even going to pay people to not have slaves in D.C. and they was like, nah, we can't do that. We need this. We need their labor, because we built the White House, the Capitol, all the buildings here. Literally, the designer of D.C., Benjamin Banneker, who was a self-taught astrologist, and they tried to tell her that he memorized the blueprints of Charles L'Enfant, who was And he was a general, I think, in the Civil War. But that's just not true. Like, I've looked at blueprints before, and I can't even understand them. It just doesn't even make any sense. And in the way D.C. is designed, it makes sense from an aerial perspective. If you driven around D.C., it's like letters and numbers, right? So it just makes sense. You go to 8th Street and H Street. So it's like you go to 7, 8, 9, you know, E, F, G, H, yeah, and it just makes sense. It's hard to get lost in D.C. It's very easy to drive around. Every state has, so there's a main road going through from each side, from one side to the other of D.C. of a state. So all 50 states have a street in D.C. And then it's letters and numbers. I think the only letter that is missing is J. I am not exactly sure why. I probably need to do more research on why there's no J Street, but there's every other letter from, all the way.
The land of everything that is not Black America. By driving out the formerly inhabited Black Americans of the area, it's no longer populated with the people.
When I think of the pile of bullshit that we're constantly taught and told about our history as Black Americans when it comes to this country, you know, that all of us, quote unquote, came here on slave ships and shit like that. You know, white supremacy likes to moralize it, right? They like to package it, and put it out in front of you as an inside joke. And when I talk about inside jokes, I think about this fucking goofy ass museum right here. The National History Museum of African Americans. They put this shit close to them, right? To the state capitol. So that whenever they want to think about how they do niggas, they ain't got to go too far to see exactly how they was doing it. Right? They say, you know what, listen, I want to skip on down to see how I was walking these niggas down. How I was depriving them niggas of resources. How I stole their communities from them, right? And you know what, in case some of the little evil degenerates that we breed and raise up forget, and I forget the stories, you know what, all they got to do is walk down the street. And it's right here to show you exactly how we was whooping their ass.
Life is really a beach. I'ma have it my way. I own the sand and the beach, cause I'm really that way. Hey, ma.
Wanted to tell. Hey, brother Mark, you say you got family up top over here? Is them niggas tiptoeing? Because apparently these niggas is brave up here, brother Mark. For them to be like this with their chest out and niggas can't pull up and niggas don't be afraid. Like, what's going on out here in Washington, D.C.?
Man, I used to go up there, man. I used to go to Washington. I got a cousin that's on the outskirts of Washington, man. He was living up there. He had no legs, nothing, man. But he had a beautiful big crib, man. You know, he's from the Army and stuff. But, you know, we'll go downtown Washington to go to that Ben's Chili Bowl. You need to go around there. That's where they got all the presidents, Obama and all the motherfuckers that went up into. But that's been co-op and everything, too, because they got a club right next to it. Go around the Ben's Chili Bowl, though. I'm telling you, man, that shit crazy over there.
Hey, brother Mark, where are we at, though? I don't see us. I see a lot of pan and pot Africanism out here popping heavy. Niggas is out here hard body with it. Where we at?
Bro, we ain't out. That's what I'm trying to say, man. They done co-op. They done took it all over, man.
What began the change, though? Like, what industries were brought in and slowly started moving you guys out? Like, I know from up top, I'm from Jersey, right? Up top for us, anytime you saw Starbucks or Whole Foods, it was over. You feel me? So what is it like down here?
We were a community. It was very family oriented, and even though we were poor, it still was a unity and a sense of community and structure. Now it's everybody focused on themselves because they see what's going on and want a piece of it too. So it kind of makes our crime like it's a lot.
Well, you say 8th Street is the location now.
8th Street is where we go now to feel like we don't have to split it with the DJ. Like, that's where you go when you want to hear hip hop. You don't want to hear no EDM, EDC music.
Hold on. You telling me it's EDM over here now? Oh, hell.
Certain clubs, if you go, like, if you here, you can hit 9th Street and still go to MLK, and it's going to be for us. Still go to Pure, it's going to be for us. But a lot of little clubs inside are playing
Nah, that's that
But
bullshit.
if you go on 8th Street, that's where we thrive right now.
Was 8th Street always popping when this was like a prime area for black folks?
No, not for me. Now, I don't know if it's a different age range, but for me, we were going to U Street and we were going down Adams Morgan. That was for us. And now I don't even think about Adams Morgan because that's where you go this time. Now here,
Hold on. You say they down there fist pumping where it used to be A-Town stomping before?
It's no club let out scenes down Adams Morgan anymore. Because when I was young, that's where I would go hang out for the let out. Like when I couldn't get in the club, we all posted out and we hanging out. Like it was a vibe still, but we're not doing that.
I have 2 books. This is one, Slavery's Mastery, Hollis, Hollis, Media, media.net. This is the old cover. There's a new cover now. HollisMedia.net or from Amazon. The other book is on my unfavorite black senator, Cory Booker, the one that looks like Mr. Clean. Cory Booker, who looks like Mr. Clean without the earring. And it's called Spartacus Cory Booker.
Albino alien.
Yeah, well, yeah, he does. Or he looks like a baby eagle before the feathers grow out. And it's eating the regurgitated food of a mother bird. It's called Spartacus Cory Booker. They're on Amazon.com or HollisMedia.net.
Cory Booker, I heard about that book.
Yeah.
That's it.
But we have bad black leadership. I always say, if we're in another place in the world, all of these traitor, no good, boot black, black neck, Negroidian, niggling, coon ass niggas would be hanging from trees. And people like me who don't believe in putting your hands on nobody would be shoved aside by the angrier black people like him. And they said, if you don't let us get him, we'll get you. I'd have to say, okay, brother. I told him, I tried to help you coons. Y'all wouldn't hear me. Now these people are mad. They're not going to bring this heat down on me. That happened with Black Power, where people were shamed into taking the processes out of their hair. People were shamed, and folks actually felt it. The black community, those people who are true sons and daughters of the race, must go to war with the traitors. Because the thing that's very interesting is nobody likes Judas. He's a Muslim, he don't like Judas. Nobody likes a traitor. The minute that we turn on them, like Obama used to be paraded around within the last 2-3 years. They used to have all these speaking events, and when the people stopped going, as some black folks woke up to his fake, deviant, bathhouse-loving ass, people stopped circulating Obama because he can't get black people out like he used to. There's still a lot of black boomers. If they thought Hitler were black, they'd support Nazism. But there are other people who are more substantive that don't look at what you look like. They care about what you do. Blacks that belong to the Democratic Party or to the unions, white institutions or white groups, weren't willing to rest any skin to really be in alignment with the black masses. Black people who are thinking, in sociology, I think it's called the coping strata. The people who are bright and brilliant and able to think and write and articulate, those that are true to our people have to become the advocates, representation, and the organizers of our people. And by the way, they're so afraid of it. They're so afraid of it. In fact, the white elite have invested millions in Jesse Jackass and Al Shaton and so forth. They've invested money in these people and they're using them until they see that blacks aren't resonating to them, and then they leave them alone. God, purge us, bump off all the no good people so we can move forward. Look, I'm 57. I don't want, if I could find younger people I could work with, if I had an institution, that's why we're going to try to make something, where I could train and have other people, I would retire and work in a garden and write and let the younger people with more energy and be behind the scenes and advise them, okay, and get out of the way because, look, I mean, I'm old, I'm going to die. I had a heart attack this year. I won't be here. I may not be here 20 years from now or 30 years from now. But if I invest the time to create new leadership or do what I can do, it lasts. In fact, black people need to stop gambling. In fact, we're the biggest gamblers in the country. We keep betting on people who hate our guts. We buy more lottery tickets than anybody else. In fact, and we trust our enemies to educate our children. We trust our enemies to give us medical care, our enemies to provide us with employment. We even trust our enemies to create our leadership. We think that we developed Barack Obama. No, we didn't. We didn't develop this woman, Sears. None of these people have been groomed, for the most part, from the grassroots up in our community, that we say they belong to us. That's why it's so easy to get those folks to go in high gear cooning once they get in a position of influence, because they don't really have power to serve the system. We have to begin to groom leadership, and we also have to get rid of old school, old black folk who don't want anyone else. The boomer generation can't die off fast enough for me, a lot of them, because they haven't let the X generation take root. And because people my age aren't where they're supposed to be, then the millennials don't get the support from us that we're supposed to get. And because the millennials haven't taken to the fore, then that means Generation Z isn't getting what they need. We've actually, like a building pancakes and collapse, we've been collapsing since the boomers came along. We need to arrest the collapse and put in new people, places, and institutions and focus on the converted. Those people that get it, not someone that I need to tell talking to a 900-pound white female isn't a good use of your time. If you just have to be with a white dude trucker with swastikas on his chest, if they end up found in a trash bag, that was going to happen. We can't save suicidal traitor black people. We need to focus on those that want to live, those that are going to fight. I'll tell you something, and they don't like it. The Jewish people in Europe, even during Hitler, the Zionist resistance movement saved the ones that would fight. And the ones that weren't trying to fight, they didn't do that much to save them. I'm just telling you, they let those folks go because they weren't going to fight when they moved down to Palestine. They didn't want to move. They didn't want to get on code. They wanted to do their own thing. Those people that are wayward, that don't want to get it, aren't going to get it, can't get it, that's part of freedom, for people to choose, or a person to choose suicide. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't give them a broken ladder and tell them to fix the gutter. But if they choose to jump off a building, I'm not going to let them pull me over too. See you later. I'll call the coroner's office, right? We have to become tough-minded enough to understand that there are collateral losses in a conflict, even great numbers. And some of our folks are lost. They're not redeemable. As much as it hurts, because I come from a background of helping generations of people that are in the community trying, and I sit back and I look at people I watch that work themselves to death. My mentor, Alfred David Jones, who died in his 50s, 59 years old, spent all this time trying to, he helped put 1,500 black folks in 6-figure jobs. One black man. That means he helped 1,500 families. That's one of his legacies. Some of them live in this area. Project Arch. If you've heard of Project Arch in Southeast, they were teaching people about electronics and all this stuff. These people were getting folks off drugs, out of prison, everything else, and moving them through where they earned 6 figures. But I've seen people work themselves to death. People that you'll never hear about, that people don't say thank you, that don't get remembered on Juneteenth or Slack History Month, that you don't hear about them. They're people who are doing everything we can. I've been all over the world. I've noticed this about Black Americans, and I'll stop here. We have more people trying to turn us around than I've seen for any other group anywhere in the world, relative to what our situation is. That you've got teachers, you got people that will just do stuff. If they find out you're legit, just help you because they want to see black folks make it. We do have this. This is lacking in other places, I can assure you. But you know what? Our desire to save people cannot be greater than people's desire to be saved and to help. So the people that do not want it, let them go. Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. I sure get it nowadays. I'm done.
Black and I'm free, letting my people run deep. A legacy spirit is seeps. I gotta keep.
Niggas ask me, Chef, why you wear this hoodie?
Focus on mission complete. Keep planting the seeds.
Ashtamir's rice mom.